that today we're going to look at a theme that I believe shows up in every paragraph, not every paragraph, sorry, every chapter of A Course in Miracles, and that is being free versus being imprisoned. And so we often have referred to what the Course calls the ancient prison of the ego. It wants to enslave our minds in a belief system where we ourselves will get used to being imprisoned and just agree to live a life of quiet desperation. I believe that was Thoreau, living a life of quiet desperation imprisoned. But we know that that's not what Holy Spirit has in mind. Holy Spirit has in mind that we would be free. And so we'll explore that topic in some detail in this session. Hello and welcome to Miracles on High Plains. My name is Jonica, and our reader for this session is Heather C.
If God's will for you is complete peace and joy, unless you experience only this, you must be refusing to acknowledge His will. His will does not vacillate, being changeless forever. When you are not at peace, it can only be because you do not believe you are in Him. Yet He is all in all. His peace is complete, and you must be included in it. His laws govern you because they govern everything. You cannot exempt yourself from His laws, although you can disobey them. Yet if you do, and only if you do, you will feel lonely and helpless because you are denying yourself everything.
Mm-hmm. So any discussion of freedom has to begin with God's plan for creation and what His intention is and what the gifts that He offers are. And so it is a plan that entails complete peace and joy. That would be the joy of living in the kingdom of heaven, which is, as you know, a part of your very nature. And anything apart from it would be to be asleep to the kingdom of heaven, to be really ignorant and not know what that is. So His will does not vacillate between having a good day and a bad day. It's consistent, it's changeless. And so pay attention to how you feel when you are not at peace. It's because you believe you're somewhere else in some state of mind, state of us being asleep, a perceptual state that has forgotten the truth of where your being is connected. And so there's this bigger transcendent concept that is God is all in all. It involves omnipresence and omnipotence and omniscience. It involves the allness of God because all reality is permeated by His nature and His being, and you can't be out. In truth, you cannot be outside of that reality. But when you're not at peace, it's because you don't believe you're inside His reality. So in truth, we can never escape that. But you can get very turned around and upside down. And if you do, you will have a different emotional state. You'll feel lonely. helpless, perhaps hopeless and despairing. And instead of recognizing that your nature is an integrated part of everything, you would have instead adopted a mind position of belief that that denies everything, that you are a part of everything. So, very different emotional states, which stem from very different states of belief, different states of mind. One very free, the other imprisoned.
I am come as a light into a world that does deny itself everything. It does this simply by dissociating itself from everything. It is therefore an illusion of isolation, maintained by fear of the same loneliness that is its illusion. I said that I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. That is why I am the light of the world. If I am with you in the loneliness of the world, the loneliness is gone. You cannot maintain the illusion of loneliness if you are not alone. My purpose then is still to overcome the world. I do not attack it, but my light must dispel it because of what it is. Light does not attack darkness, but it does shine it away. If my light goes with you everywhere, you shine it away with me. The light becomes ours, and you cannot abide in darkness any more than darkness can abide wherever you go. The remembrance of me is the remembrance of yourself and of him who sent me to you.
So there's always in any paragraph a choice of what to focus on and what to bring our attention to. I want to focus on this idea of disassociating, yeah, from everything. And the opposite of disassociating would be to associate yourself with everything, with reality. And along with the idea of associating involves the remembrance of your relationship to reality, to everything. And so let's go back. And this is very subtle, but all pervasive. Can you, are you willing to believe if I said that in every moment of your waking consciousness, you are either view yourself as associated with reality, with true reality, God's plan for salvation, or your mind goes into a state of numbness, forgetfulness, and you dissociate from true reality. And when you dissociate from true reality, the vacuum is created there and the ego rushes in to fill it. So my assertion here is that we are always at all times either in a mental state of remembering or of forgetting, of associating or dissociating, of choosing to be in the light or of closing our eyes and instead dreaming about shadows, making illusions true at all times. And so we should try to understand, and we will as we go on in this reading here, is what does it mean to associate with reality? What does it mean to remember and to be aware of? And so he begins to introduce that here in the idea that Christ, who's writing this, is real, says that there's a light that is ours. We're in this together. And when you remember that he was a light bearer, a light carrier, you also at the same time are remembering yourself as a light carrier. And so this idea of remembrance is going to be key to the experience of freedom, because as we said, you're either associated with the light and your freedom, or you're offline and disconnected, in which case the mind is temporarily believes itself to be imprisoned.
You were in darkness until God's will was done completely by any part of the sonship. When this was done, it was perfectly accomplished by all. How else could it be perfectly accomplished? My mission was simply to unite the will of the sonship with the will of the Father by being aware of the Father's will myself. This is the awareness I came to give you, and your problem in accepting it is the problem of this world. Dispelling it is salvation, and in this sense, I am the salvation of the world. The world must therefore despise and reject me, because the world is the belief that love is impossible. And if you will accept the fact that I am with you, you are denying the world and accepting God. My will is His, and your decision to hear me is the decision to hear His voice and abide in His will. As God sent me to you, so will I send you to others, and I will go to them with you, so we can teach them peace and union.
Mm-hmm. So earlier we talked about associating and remembering the truth of who we are. So important is that he says, my mission was to unite the will of the sonship with the will of the Father. By how? By being aware of the Father's will myself. So he did that as the light bearer or forerunner. This is the awareness I came to give you. What awareness? To be aware of the Father's will yourself. This is remembering. This is associating. This is walking in the light. This is knowing what you are. Which is, we know, contrasted with the problem, which is the problem of the world, which is trying to step outside that awareness. It's what the world promotes. It's that you're on it in this by yourself is kind of the theme the world gives. You're on your own. It's a dog eat dog world. You got to compete to survive. And so dispelling those illusions is the nature of salvation. Once you do that, you can return your awareness once again to the Father's will. So we've got this contrast between the message that the world conveys and the message that is necessary for your freedom. And how are we to then become free? If you will accept the fact that I'm with you, we're in this together, then you are denying the world and accepting God. It's a decision to orient yourself towards Holy Spirit's guidance, to hear His voice. And that orientation, that decision is the beginning of freedom. Susie?
So when I jumped on, and I was excited to see you and Heather, I'm on the heels of finishing last night's video. And I was just at the point where Paul and Atisha were asking the questions about, holy encounters and how does it work. And well, Paul said something about asked you to explain more about that. And here it is. As God sent me to you, I will send you to others. It's so beautiful. I mean, it's really, really beautiful. And I will go to them with you so we can teach them. I just think that's the answers. And what really jumped out at me at last night was how I can't, which was really huge, and it's saying this over and over again, and I think I've always missed it all these years. I can't just look for the Holy Spirit in myself.
Yes.
Oh, huge, huge, huge. So these few sentences are just popping out.
Yeah. 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 Thank you for seeing that tie and pointing it out. As God sent me to you, so will I send you to others. And the theme that we read there is every encounter with another is a holy encounter, or we could say it has the opportunity for a holy encounter. And from the Holy Spirit's position, every encounter you have, she's just waiting. Yes, this could be a holy encounter. All we need is for you and I to be open and miracle minded. This is miracle readiness, to be ready for a miracle to happen. For we are sent to others. And yes, thank you. Hang on just a second. I'm sorry. Paul, you had your hand up.
If I could just comment on a personal experience,
Yeah.
is it sometimes the holy encounter happens immediately, and then sometimes it's a delayed reaction. It's like sometimes it can be a negative experience with another person, and you say, well, I don't really know where this person's coming from. But then afterwards, the Holy Spirit can even use some of their negativity in a very positive way. And it's like, it doesn't happen immediately, but then, maybe the next day or so, or something's like, you see things from a different perspective. And it's like, okay, well, that's not exactly how it normally works, but I understand the guidance. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did, Paul, because it's really true that sometimes people rub us the wrong way, and that should wake us up to the opportunity for us to heal through forgiveness. So really, every opportunity is for our good, is for our benefit. When a person smiles back and it's all lovely, well, then you share the light together. And when they don't, they frown and they respond in a way that makes you uncomfortable. That's an opportunity for you to practice forgiveness. Only the Holy Spirit could make all of those opportunities into a learning opportunity. Noel?
Relating to what Paul just said, I had an experience like that yesterday where it was a phone call, and after finishing, I had a very negative feeling about that person. And only today I realized that, first of all, it is a special relationship. And second, it's there for me to learn from and become a holy encounter. And just while Heather was reading, I had the insight that for me, the lesson is to enlarge. That's the best way I can put it. Enlarge my acceptance, enlarge what I think this person should be, enlarge the feeling of, and get rid of the feeling of judgment about this person. And it really lightened me.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you, Noel. Some people might have once called those growing pains, but I think we need to relabel that. That's growing and healing. I don't have the perfect words here. Maybe one of you will, but that's growing with delight because feels lighter. You're not carrying this heaviness. All right, let's go on.
What both Noel and Paul shared remind me of the lesson, all things are lessons God would have me learn.
Thank you.
So
Beautiful.
every person is a lesson waiting to happen. Do you not think the world needs peace as much as you do? Do you not want to give it to the world as much as you want to receive it? For unless you do, you will not receive it. If you want to have it of me, you must give it. Healing does not come from anyone else. You must accept guidance from within. The guidance must be what you want, or it will be meaningless to you. That is why healing is a collaborative venture. I can tell you what to do, but you must collaborate by believing that I know what you should do. Only then will your mind choose to follow me. Without this choice, you could not be healed because you would have decided against healing. And this rejection of my decision for you makes healing impossible.
Mm-hmm. So the key to freedom from the imprisonment of ego is spoken about right here. You have to understand you can't heal alone. Healing is a collaborative adventure. And yes, it means that we heal with other brothers. It also means that we collaborate with Christ. I, Christ, can tell you what to do, but you must collaborate by believing that I know what you should do. And so if you're taking notes, the summary of this is partner up. Mm-hmm. If you're going to heal, Noel, when you have a phone call that leaves you afterwards feeling uncomfortable, know that we have to partner up. And I can testify that on the opposite side of that there's a tendency when things go bad for me to go within my own little world, crawl back in to my ego prison cage and try to deal with it all by myself. And just one of the ways in which you will know what I'm talking about is replay what was said and what happened again and again, wondering how the things that the Course says that the ego's motivation is to identify where the guilt lies. Mm-hmm. And so we replay all these things so that we can say, that's where the guilt should be assigned. But to heal, we must collaborate, we must partner. Susie?
Yeah, one of the lessons I love the most when I get agitated or something, in this world is I don't know what anything is for. I mean, that is really, I say that to myself all the time. I don't know what anything is for, and I cannot perceive my own best interests. And so, and I'm never upset for the reason I think. I mean, all of that bunch of lessons helps me look at everything differently, or at least be open, because I don't know what I don't know. So all I know is I don't know. More to be revealed. I don't know. Those lessons help me a lot.
Yeah, they really do. And I'm not certain, but I think many of them are in the first 50.
Yes.
And those, I remember all doing those first 50. I've probably done them because I restarted before I finished a dozen times, wondering, what does all this mean? What relevance do these words have to anything? Now they're obvious because we're willing to admit that we really don't know what anything is for and that we really do need help. Heather?
Yeah, well, Susie was talking. I just realized that the lessons are the healing collaborative venture.
Yes.
That's what that is. It's a collaborative venture. It is us doing it together, but doing them over and over and over is how we actually heal, so that when we're in those situations, we can get back on track much faster.
Yes. Yes. So the key to freedom is to collaborate. I summarize all that as partner up. When in trouble, don't go it alone. And I'll speak to my own ego. I'm not going to go back into that dark tunnel with you and try to figure out what to do in there. I'm going to stay out in the light and partner up. That's where all healing is collaborative.
Healing reflects our joint will. If healing is our joint will, unless our wills are joined, you cannot be healed. This is obvious when you consider what healing is for. Healing is the way in which a separation is overcome. Separation is overcome by union. It cannot be overcome by separating. The decision to unite must be unequivocal, or the mind itself is divided and not whole. Your mind is the means by which you determine your own condition. Because mind is the mechanism of decision, it is the power by which you separate or join and experience pain or joy accordingly. My decision cannot overcome yours because yours is as powerful as mine. If it were not so, the sons of God would be unequal. All things are possible through our joint decision, but mine alone cannot help you. Your will is as free as mine, and God himself would not go against it. I cannot will what God does not will. I can offer my strength to make yours invincible, but I cannot oppose your decision without competing with it and thereby violating God's will for you.
You have a comment?
Is this my paragraph?
I believe, yeah.
Okay. I love the line where it says, your mind is the means by which you determine your own condition. And what stood out to me is the word determine. So that word implies willpower or strong determination. And then in the next paragraph, it says, God gave your will its power. So it became really clear to me that willpower does not come from me. I have to make the decision, then God provides the power. So in the 12-step programs, it says, praying only for the knowledge of his will for me and the power to carry it out. So I don't have to be perfect, but I must set the intention. This is like Jonathan saying, pair up. It's like I have to point the sail in the right direction. And then I ask God to provide the wind in the sail. So that's the power. And then line 14, Christ says, I can offer my strength to make yours invincible. And I love that. He will reinforce my decision. He'll add his power to my little effort. And as long as my desire is wholehearted, he will support that. And so, for example, the lesson that says, I could choose peace instead of this. I'm setting my intention, but if I ask for his invincible power, I can change it to, I will see peace instead of this. So it goes from I can to I will. And then I realized, the ego wishes that says I could, and the soul wills, it says I will. So what this did for me, I'm just glad that it helped me understand a little bit more of a definition of willpower. And that is, if I provide the will, then God provides the power. That's it.
Lovely. Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much.
Nothing God created can oppose your decision, as nothing God created can oppose his will. God gave your will its power, which I can only acknowledge in honor of his. If you want to be like me, I will help you, knowing that we are alike. If you want to be different, I will wait until you change your mind. I can teach you, but only you can choose to listen to my teaching. How else can it be if God's kingdom is freedom? Freedom cannot be learned by tyranny of any kind, and the perfect equality of all God's sons cannot be recognized through the dominion of one mind over another. God's sons are equal in will, all being the will of their Father. This is the only lesson I came to teach, knowing that it is true.
Noel?
The key to me of these paragraphs is my decision or my decision maker. The power of decision is my own. I believe he's saying that he cannot do anything without my decision for the right. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
He says, I can't interfere with you, I think in the previous paragraph. So then a second paragraph here, if you want to be different, I will wait until you change your mind. But only you can choose to listen to my teaching. So the first step is to choose rightly, as Jem Polsky has said, choose once again. Choose once again.
Thank you, Noel. So, Susie, that was a spontaneous commentary by Noel. Thank you, Noel.
If your will were not mine, it would not be our Father's. This would mean you have imprisoned yours, and you have not let it be free. Of yourself, you can do nothing, because of yourself, you are nothing. I am nothing without the Father, and you are nothing without me. Because by denying the Father, you deny yourself. I will always remember you, and in my remembrance of you lies your remembrance of yourself. And our remembrance of each other lies our remembrance of God. And in this remembrance lies your freedom, because your freedom is in him. Join then with me in praise of him and you whom he created. This is our gift of gratitude to him, which he will share with all his creations, to whom he gives equally whatever is acceptable to him. Because it is acceptable to him, it is the gift of freedom, which is his will for all his sons. By offering freedom, you will be free.
The macro idea within the course is a concept of the self. And it exists on multiple levels, or the belief in the self exists on multiple levels. Many people believe they are a body and that they are defined by their physical life on earth only, that that's who they are. Then there's also a concept of the self as a part of the holy mind of God. There's an awakening, a gradual, progressive awakening that I am a part of God's mind. I am very holy. And then there's also, in addition to that, a concept of the self as an eternal spiritual being, born in perfection, limitless, capable of loving everything and extending forever. A very spiritual concept. All three of them are self concepts on different levels. Here, he says, of yourself, you can do nothing because you're of yourself, apart from creation, apart from God's plan, there is no self. You're an unreality. You're a nothing. And he even goes so far as to say, I'm nothing without the Father, and you are nothing without me. So there's no self. Said another way, is there is no meaningful self concept apart from the plan of salvation, the plan of atonement, God's plan for creation. It's how we find our true selves. This is when, so when we talk about remembrance, this is what we talk about, remembering what we truly are. So, oh, yes. And then you'll remember that this comes really a reflection from the previous session where we did talk in the Holy Encounter about the concept of power and glory. And we spoke about it in terms of how, yes, the Holy Spirit has a very divine view of holy power and glory. And that's contrasted with the ego's view of power and glory, egotistical power and glory, where the ego would encourage you to look for power and glory in yourself alone because it doesn't know where to look. Whereas the Holy Spirit teaches you, if you, this is a point that Susie reiterated, it was made in the previous session, that if you look only at yourself, you cannot find your divine self. You cannot find that part of you which is shared by all creation if you look only at yourself, because that is not what you are. And so throughout the Course in Miracles, this progression from self as a body, that's an ego concept, to a self as a part of the holy mind, which then partners up with the spiritual self, your eternal, divine, limitless self. Those concepts will continue to unfold. They're deep and profound. They're both psychological, social. There's an intellectual component to it, and then they're profoundly spiritual. And so the meaning and the realization of what that all entails is taken in stages.
Freedom is the only gift you can offer to God's sons, being an acknowledgement of what they are and what He is. Freedom is creation, because it is love. Whom you seek to imprison, you do not love. Therefore, when you seek to imprison anyone, including yourself, you do not love him and you cannot identify with him. When you imprison yourself, you are losing sight of your true identification with me and with the Father. Your identification is with the Father and with the Son. It cannot be with one and not the other. If you are part of one, you must be part of the other, because they are one. The Holy Trinity is holy because it is one. If you exclude yourself from this union, you are perceiving the Holy Trinity as separated. You must be included in it because it is everything. Unless you take your place in it and fulfill your function as part of it, the Holy Trinity is as bereft as you are. No part of it can be imprisoned if its truth is to be known.
So continuing on with this concept of the self, where now he is going to elevate it to the most loftiest of all possible levels, whereby yourself is your identity. That's what you are, your identification. He says is an identification with the Father and the Son, or the sonship would be all the sons of creation. And if you are a part of one, you must be part of the other because they are one. Okay, we've encountered that before. But did you know your true identity is a part of the Holy Trinity? Most people would not, even if they said, what are you? I'm a part of the Holy Trinity. I'm here to help. Most people would not understand what you were talking about. But if you exclude yourself from this union of the Holy Trinity, you're perceiving the Holy Trinity as separate from you. And what we're learning, your identity is either one with all of creation, or it's perceived the illusion that you're separate from it. If you exclude yourself from this union, the union where the Holy Trinity is one, then you're mistakenly perceiving the Holy Trinity as separated. In truth, you must be included in it. Is it? Yes, it is capitalized here because we're talking about the Holy Trinity after all. Because the Holy Trinity is everything. And here's the final parting message of this section. Unless you take your place in the Holy Trinity and fulfill your function as part of it, then the Holy Trinity is as bereft as you are, meaning you're bereft, you're apart, your consciousness is apart from it. You wind up being lost, or we would say asleep, unconscious, imprisoned. No part of the Holy Trinity can be imprisoned if its truth is to be known, and most certainly the truth of the Holy Trinity is intended to be known. And so it comes back to the message that Heather had in her commentary. Your free will is yours to choose how you use. And you can choose to accept what was just said about the Holy Trinity as being a part of all reality, as being a part of the Father and the Son, and that your true eternal identity is a part of that reality. Or you can be a little hesitant to grasp such an idea. If you're feeling a bit uncomfortable with that, just know that all is necessary is that you don't reject it, that you don't close your mind and make a decision to not believe it. Just allow it to come in and say, I really don't know what this is about. I really don't understand everything. I don't understand the Holy Trinity and the plan of God, but I'm being told that at some deep and profound level, we are all a part of the Trinity. Heather?
Just like that word, that the Holy Trinity is bereft, that implies that there's a feeling state, but we're missed. It's like your analogy of the puzzle, if the whole puzzle is finished and there's one piece missing, the Trinity feels that. We feel that. We're like, where's our brother? What's missing here? So it's like, it's all or nothing.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Heather. I have a visual metaphor that illustrates what Heather was talking about. In Florida around the holidays, they really go all out with the lights and everything, and they wrap the palm trees from the base all the way up into the palms in these lights. So they spiral on around you, oftentimes in white lights. And so every 4 inches, there's a white light. Well, when one goes out, immediately your eye goes to that. You notice that the light is not on. The light is missing because it's uniformly spaced everywhere. Well, this is what it says in the Course, that the recognition from above is that the light is off and it's not plugged in, it's not engaged. It doesn't mean that it can't be turned on. It just means for that moment it's offline, disconnected, or separated. And so the intent is that nothing be imprisoned, nothing be offline, that it all be connected. Susie?
No, I really just love what you said, Jonica, and I think it's really helpful for students, probably all of us, that don't understand or don't feel or don't believe things yet. And you just said, you might not feel it or know it or believe it, but just be willing, and sometimes I say to the Holy Spirit, yeah, I don't really understand this totally, but I'm willing to. I'm really willing to, because I do believe the course. I do believe it's all true. I might not have had the total experience of it yet, some of the things it talks about, but I'm willing to have them. I'm willing to, and I think it's been really important for me not to just say, nope, I'm not part of that Trinity, like that's just too far-fetched for me. I'm willing to get it.
Yeah. Thank you, Susie. Yes, your willingness, we would say that's you're willing to be teachable. And that attribute is really all you need to make progress in this program. Because none of us walked in knowing God's plan of atonement, the laws of God, the level confusion, the role that the ego had captured and taken over and created a false identity. None of us knew these things. We're all learning. And as we are seeing, some of the learning extends all the way back to the beginning of creation, all the way back to the source, as it should extend all the way back to the source if it be true. If its truth is to be known, it must extend all the way back to the source. So I've been encouraged to do a little summaries at the end. And so here's a set of ideas partially that summarizes what we talked about. That this freedom of living in the kingdom in joy and peace is part of your inheritance. It's the natural state. It's given to everyone. Everyone has it, even though their light bulb might be turned off at the moment. It's not something to be earned. It's given as a gift. And so that means that freedom is inherent in your nature, inalienable, and it can't be taken away. It is wrapped up in your true identity. Your true self is found in that state of freedom. It cannot be realized in a state of imprisonment. And that involves pairing up, what I call partnering up, collaborating. Healing is a collaborative adventure, although you can at times turn away and oppose it, but in true freedom is only found in pairing up. And so we have to recognize what we are saying no to, which is the state before we didn't know any different. Of course, would say that we've all been imprisoned and we didn't know it. So we learn by teaching in contrast to the imprisonment, which creates a very unnatural state, which is really a dissociation from the kingdom of joy and peace. It's a resistance to the idea of allowing God's will to be our source, and it has emotional implications of loneliness and despair. And so that denial of freedom is not a part of God's will. And even though we do not always recognize and understand his laws, we are always operating in a field of life that is governed by the laws of God, the laws of creation. Well, fellow members of the Holy Trinity, actually, we are not, let me correct the correct language here. We are in union with the Holy Trinity. We are not the Holy Trinity. We are joining consciously and willing with the Holy Trinity. But that's some good company to be keeping. So what a profound message. I don't know how there could be anything more profound than that, other than to tell you we are also the second coming of Christ. But we'll save that for another day. But I want to thank you all for being here. Heather, thank you for sharing and for your comments. Thank you all for your listening and your willingness to believe. Namaste.
Thank you, Heather. Great.
Thank you,
Heather. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Peace and love.
Thanks, Jonica.
Bye.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Jonica. Bye.
Bye-bye.